Hello again, everyone. Doug Burson, CPA here, and I've been getting a lot of questions lately on the COVID-19 payroll tax credits. So we're going to go through these at a high level and let you know what they are, what the impact is it going to be beneficial to your business, and if so, how to apply for them, and who doesn't qualify for them. So let's get right into it. To start with, there is the credit for sick and family leave. And in order to qualify for this, you're dealing with an employee who is unable to work, and this includes telework. So, for instance, let's say, well, for us, we had some staff that their kids were at home and they had to go home to take care of them. But because of technology, we were able to set them up at home and they could then telework and do their job. In my business, you can do that. If you're building a house, that probably won't work, right? So, but if that's you, if they are unable to work, including telework, because of the coronavirus quarantine, self-quarantine, or coronavirus symptoms, and they've sought medical diagnosis. So in other words, you can't just self-quarantine and haven't done anything to show that you really have a need to quarantine. You're entitled to a paid sick leave for up to 10 days or 80 hours at the employer's regular rate of pay, or if higher, which could be possible, I guess. You then would be at the federal minimum wage, but no more than $511 per day, which mathematically is, $5,110 total. So next you have someone who is caring for someone with coronavirus. So this is an employee who is unable to work due to caring for someone with coronavirus or caring for a child because the child's school or place of care is closed. And in this case, they also are entitled to 2 weeks, up to 80 hours, but this one's different. It's at 2/3 the employer's regular rate of pay, or if higher, the federal minimum wage. And this is $200 a day, but no more than $2,000 in total. So this one's a little different. That's caring for someone with coronavirus. What about care for children due to daycare or school closure, right? So this is an employee who is unable to work because of a need to care for a child whose school or place of care is closed, or whose child care provider is unavailable, that is, due to the coronavirus. In this case, it's the same $200 per day, but they can do it for up to 10 weeks for a maximum of $10,000 in total. So that's for that one. That's a little different. So as an employer, I know some of you out there are starting to sweat saying, whoa, how does all this work? How am I supposed to pay for all this, right? Well, how this works is there's a credit for you as the employer if you're eligible. And an eligible employer, you're entitled to receive a credit in the full amount of the required sick leave and family leave, plus related health care expenses, right? And that's your health insurance. And the Medicare tax for the leave between April 1st and December 31st of 2020. And this is applied directly against certain employment taxes on your 941. So that's your FICA taxes, your Medicare taxes, your federal withholding taxes. You apply it directly against that, and that's how you fund it, by reducing the amount of payroll taxes you have to pay in. If you happen to have more leave being paid out than you actually have taxes to offset, then you can fill out a Form 7200, send it in, and get an advance payment, and they'll mail a check directly to you, a paper check. So that's how that works. But next there's this employee retention credit. Now this credit is a refundable tax credit equal to 50% of up to $10,000 in wages, and that includes health plan expenses, and it's between March 12th and January 1st. Now this credit is capped at $5,000 per employee, and like the other one, you use it against the employment taxes on your 941, and if you don't have enough of those, you as well can apply for the 7200, well, fill out the 7200 form to apply for the credit. We're not going to cover that in this video, and I'll get to that here in a minute on why. So how do you know if your business qualifies? Well, are you an employer of fewer than 500 employees? Is it a private sector business or a tax exempt organization that carries on a trade or business? That's going to be most of you. You're going to be private sector. You're not government. You're not a government entity, but you're a private business or a tax exempt organization. And you had operations that were fully or partially suspended during any calendar quarter in 2020 due to orders from a government agency. So in other words, the government has issued a stay-at-home order, or something along those lines. Or for instance, like restaurants where they've said people can no longer go inside, and so they've had to close the doors and they're only doing carry-out. That's someone who has been partially suspended, not fully, partially suspended, but they are still open. So they would qualify too. Due to COVID-19, of course, all this stuff is based on COVID-19. But if that's not the case, so they weren't forced to close down, but just based on everything in your area, you experienced a significant decline in gross receipts during that quarter. So what that means is if in 2019 your revenue was $10,000 and in 2020, the same quarter, you are at $5,000, you would qualify, because what the IRS has said is significant means 50%. So your gross receipts have to be more than 50% lower than the same quarter of the prior year. And if that's the case, then you would qualify. But it's important to understand, I want you to know this, it's important to understand that certain employers who have fewer than 50 employees, or employers whose employees are healthcare providers or emergency responders, may be exempt. And for most of you who are watching this video, you are going to be exactly that. So I want you, if you are worried about this, do a little research on the FLMA rules. You'll find out that you are or you aren't, but most small businesses under 50 are exempt from that just because of the difficulties it would put on a small business to where they just don't have the resources to do it. So if that's you, then you're okay. But let's say you are going to be applying for these credits. How do you do it? Well, I think I already told you, but you're going to qualify for wages taken between April and December, and you're going to do this on your 941, your payroll taxes. So if this is you, get with your payroll provider, get with your payroll department. That's who's going to handle this, and you're going to do the credits on the 941. There's separate worksheets for that, and that's how it's handled. And like I said earlier, if you don't have enough, you're going to fill out a 7200 and request an advance, and you don't have to pay this back. This is truly a credit. But on the 941, you're going to use it to offset the federal income taxes, Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes. That's how this deal works. So this sounds great. And if you did not apply for the PPP loan for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. If you felt that it wasn't the right fit for you, you didn't want to go through the application, you just didn't understand it, or you just didn't know about it, missed the boat, and didn't get it done in time, this may be something that's going to help you out quite a bit. So if you didn't apply for the PPP loan, I would recommend get with your tax advisor while you still have the time, your payroll provider. You may have to do some amended 941s. Maybe we can fix it in this quarter. But this could be a big help for your cash flow and really help you be in a better position going into 2021, because the credit's there and it's there to help you. But who doesn't qualify? Well, who doesn't qualify are businesses that receive the PPP loans. And for us, in our business, most of our clients probably have received the PPP loan. So all of what we said probably doesn't apply to them because they did already get the loan. And what was PPP for? It was a payroll protection, right? So that was to pay people to stay home and keep the business afloat. So they're not going to let you have the money twice, and that's why not. But I wanted you all to understand it and be aware of it so that you didn't feel like you missed out on something, or have one of your friends come over and say, hey, I got this other credit, why aren't you doing it? You now know why, and you know that you've done the right thing. And the PPP in most cases is going to be the better deal for you. So don't sweat it. Hopefully this was helpful so that you at least know what's going on, and we'll talk again soon.